great. But yeah, it's just like an action film, but it like hits a little bit deeper, I reckon. So yeah,
definitely. And I think it wasn't as cheesy, anywhere near as cheesy as I thought it was going to be. And I don't mind cheese in like action films. It was, I would say. So a good example of this, for example, is like in Commando. You know where he's got that, I forget the name, but he's got the guy over a cliff by his foot.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I said I'd kill you, laugh, Bennett. That's it. And he said, yeah, you did. I lied. And he drops him off, and then there's clearly a doll falling from this like cliff, right? Whereas there's a similar scene. Obviously, no one's being held by their foot, but of someone falling off a helicopter. And it's clearly a human being jumping off a helicopter stunt person into a river or onto I don't know what they'd fall onto to stop them dying. But anyway, it just had another level up from that. And I love Commando. I love Arnie films. I'm not trying to denigrate them, but it had another level. It was just a bit more polished, and it was just a really solid action film with a bit of acting in it, man. Like Stallone could act.
Yeah,
he can act. But back then, he was definitely, you could see he was trying a little bit more, I think, than he does now.
Mate, I was tearing up at the end. Gets me every time, man.
Yeah,
it's big.
Damn.
So yeah, well worth the watch.
Big time.
And as I mentioned earlier, I also rewatched Lethal Weapon 1, the original, obviously, not the silly TV series now. The film with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Sure.
It's just so good, man. It's absolutely amazing. It ticks the boxes. Like, the soundtrack's great. You know, David Sanborn, the sax player, is doing that like that bluesy sax over the...
Yeah.
Whenever they pull up to a different location and get out of the car, there's like a little sax line and some blues guitar. It's great. Clearly paid for by a tobacco company with big bucks, though, because Mel Gibson is just making smoking look incredible. The whole film. Yeah, I just wanted a cigarette after finishing the film. It really worked, man. Die Hard as well. You know, it's that's not a secret, you know. Live and Let... not Live and Let Die, sorry. License to Kill as well. Lots of these big sort of action films in the 80s were just all paid for by tobacco companies, and they really made smoking look cool, and it worked. So well done, those companies.
Smoking is cool. I'm sorry. I don't smoke cigarettes, really, but it's cool. It is. And
it looks cool, doesn't it? Yeah.
It just looks very cool, and you can't deny that. And I think, I wouldn't... I'm not going to advocate for people to smoke, but if you're a young child and you're on the fence, do it. Yeah, just go into your parents' wallet, just reach out a couple of pounds from that, take it down to the offie. No, completely joking. Oh God, we're losing our sponsors now. Alan Shearer won't be on the next one. No, but you're absolutely right, and obviously, you know, the health risks are bad. But yeah, you're right. You see Bruce Willis using his Zippo lighter to light the tunnel that he's in, and also he put a cigarette in, and it's just, you can't beat that, man. It's so cool. I just imagine it wasn't so addictive and you could just do it every now and again.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't so
most
harmful.
People could.
I mean,
it wasn't so harmful.
Imagine if it wasn't harmful. Like, literally everyone would do it. I mean, I remember as a kid, I always had a fascination with it. I remember I always, like... Well, I didn't even have to beg my mum. She just bought them for me. But, like, not real fags, obviously, but those, like, little, like sugar cigarettes. Used to get, like, a little...
Yes.
They must not sell them anymore, surely, because it's, whatever, it's taboo or whatever. No. But, like, I used to buy, like, cigarettes all the time. These little chocolate or, like, sugar cigarettes all the time. Just loved it.
Yeah, same.
Smoked them all the time.
Yeah.
20 a day, man. I was...
Just got chocolate all around your mouth. Just, yeah. Mate, I'm 100% the same. Used to go on holidays to Swanage, go to the sweet shop, and they'd have them in... And the thing is, they'd have them in the coolest packs, the paper packs, where you could, like, knock them out, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't those the cardboard cartons they get now. It was a proper pack that you could roll into your sleeve and have, like, as you're walking around. Oh, man. Yeah, for sure. My mum was very protective of that, though. So after a while, she sort of nipped that in the bud because she quit smoking.
Right.
Because, like, you know, I don't know about your parents. Did they smoke?
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
Like, very against it. Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
And yet mum was my dealer with the sugar sweet cigarettes. But I had no trouble getting those.
Interesting. That's funny because both my parents smoked like a chimney until I was, I don't know, until it stopped. It was, I guess, I don't know when it became really obvious that smoking was bad. I guess probably before I was born. But anyway, eventually my mum quit. My dad took a lot longer. And when she quit, she decided that, it wasn't a good idea to sort of, I don't know, subconsciously make it cool to have cigarettes in my mouth.
Yeah.
I think she was overreacting a little bit. I don't think there's much of a correlation between eating chocolate cigarettes and smoking when you're an adult. But anyway, yeah, so I couldn't get away with that after a while, which was a shame. Right. But they were so good. And those, like, the sweet ones, like the chalky, like...
Yeah, man. They were the best.
I don't even know what they were.
They were the good stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't low tar. They were like the full... like king size, baby.
Yeah. What those filterless ones, like Sailor's Friend or whatever they're called.
Players.
That's it. Oh, Players. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They were made in Nottingham as well. That was one of the things that Nottingham was famous for, which is where I'm from originally.
Yeah.
Underwear, ladies' underwear. And Players cigarettes and Rally bikes. They were the three like main exports from Knots, basically. You know how there's always a traditional export, isn't there, from a town? Like they were the three. If you really knew your stuff, and you were a local lad, you smoked Players, rode a Rally, wore women's underwear. That was what you did in Knots.
Explains a lot, mate. Explains a lot.
Yeah, big time. I think my dad used to work in a ladies' knicker factory.
Really?
when he was a kid, yeah. Teenager.
Amazing.
Like, you know.
Yeah, sure. That's sick. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Let's just quickly before we move on here, I wanted to go back to the smoking thing.
Sure.
So let's say the cigarettes are as bad as they are for you now.
Yeah.
But there was zero, like, risk of addiction. Well, not zero, but the same risk as anything. Like,
right.
Like that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because then some people will just get addicted to anything, right? But most people won't. Whereas, obviously, the opposite with cigarettes, most people do get addicted to it, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think it would even be an issue? It would just be something that we just did every now and again when we wanted to. Yeah, sure, people know the risks of it. It's not great for you. The healthier people probably would stay away from it. But then it's just... Right now, it's almost like a faux pas when you see someone smoking, isn't it? It's like...
Yeah,
maybe not going to look down on, but
taboo,
it's
right?
A taboo. That's the best word. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting, isn't it? We've had to do that to stop ourselves from falling into the addiction of it. We've had to, as a society, like come around and say, listen, it's not cool, or it's if
it makes you look dirty and trampy and cheap.
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what we've had to do. We've had to make it seem like, sort of trampier people smoke. Like, we've changed that because it was the exact opposite, wasn't it? It was like Audrey Hepburn in the 50s with a long cigarette holder, and Cary Grant and whoever, Sean Connery, they were all smoking, and it was like the top, posh, expensive. Oh my God, they're smoking beautiful cigarettes, whatever. And now we've done the exact opposite, and we've tried to make it seem like dirty little rollies and like brown fingers and bad breath and teeth falling out and all that thing. Which it does if you smoke a lot, obviously. Mm-hmm. If, as to your question as whether we would still do it, I don't think it would be as much of a taboo, to be honest. Yeah, I think you're right. If it wasn't as addictive, that's the problem, isn't it? It's like, God, I'm trying to think of something else. I mean, it's maybe something like food, like a really unhealthy carbonara. It's just it's just butter and cheese and fatty meat. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really bad for you, basically. So if carbonara was as addictive as cigarettes, I think we'd have the same problem with carbonara, where we'd be going around saying to people like, "Oh no, don't do that. It's expensive and trampy, and once you start eating carbonara, you can't stop. Stop spending your benefits on carbonara. When your kids need laptops, that sort of thing. It would have those sort of kind of connotations, wouldn't it? But carbonara isn't addictive, so we just do it every now and again. Once a month or whatever, when we're in the Italian restaurant, we might have a carbonara, and we know that it's really bad, and we've just consumed loads of butter and salt and fat and all this stuff. So I don't think it would be a problem if it wasn't so addictive. That is the problem. Also, I wanted to say they've done a really good job of this, because just watching films and TV just it seems to me that general society has, a very, very negative opinion towards smoking cigarettes, but a very, very positive attitude towards drinking and smoking weed.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. This is just how it seems to me from watching TV, watching programs, just chatting to people, society. People will drink like a fish in programs and films and stuff. And they will also, Modern Family, for example, they just talk about weed all over the place. There's loads of little things, loads of tiny little things about weed and about how it's fine, and they just laugh it off and joke about it, even when it's their kids smoking weed. Like lots of jokes about Hayley smoking weed in the house, sort of thing. And I kind of think, hang on, wait, how's that fine? I guess they're in California, aren't they? But it's still, anyway, it's the same sort of thing, like on many programs. That's fine, and booze is completely fine, but fags are the devil, it seems.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've noticed that, or am I just making it up?
No, 100% I noticed that. Yeah, it's interesting. As I've sort of been looking into politics and sort of how the general public feel about certain topics and how it's sort of shifted over time, I do tend to look at TV now with a little bit more of a sort of skeptical lens, and is there like a hidden agenda here, or are they trying to like promote something, and I think there is a lot of that. I don't know whether it's a conscious bias with some things or conscious effort, but if we're watching the majority of our films and television from one area, i.e. Hollywood, we're going to get a leaning of whatever Hollywood thinks. So a lot of people in Hollywood love smoking weed, they love drinking, but they clearly think smoking's bad, or whatever they might think. Maybe they think immigration's good, or they think illegal immigrants, whatever they want to say. Subconsciously, if you're writing a film, that's just going to come out in your writing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't really think it's a conscious thing they're doing. I just think that there's a lot of people in Hollywood that are in charge of a lot of the stuff that we consume on TV and stuff, and because of that, their opinions are being pushed in a positive light, and maybe their things that they don't like are being pushed obviously in a negative light. So that's going to happen, and that does have a big effect on people. Huge effect, I think. And you can see it if you watch like the 90s sitcoms compared to stuff like now. It's very different.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. And you can see how things have changed. But I don't know how we could ever get away from that.
I guess we've just got to trust in the fact that it just keeps going in circles, and that everybody will be catered for. Cycles, and everybody will be catered for eventually on the next cycle, or this cycle, depending on how you feel, right? Because I guess in the 80s, like the action films and stuff that we like, right, they were all funded by sort of, big tobacco companies, gun companies, Ronald Reagan supporting, right-wing politicians, blah, 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 and it was fun to just go around shooting and smoking and doing whatever you want, whatever. But whereas nowadays, like, I look at these action heroes and think, God, you are I don't want to say whatever word, but you aren't an action hero. Basically, you're not serving a purpose here. Because the mood has changed, doesn't it? But I guess, like most things, if the theory works, it's going to go back round again.
In theory, yeah, for sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. I think to even add even more to just the weed thing, I think that hard drugs are being normalized a lot more. Big time. And I think like cocaine is a big one that gets used in Christ. We sound like squares here, but like it's been totally normalized in films. Yeah. What was the missus watching? She was watching this. It's kind of like The Hangover, but it was all girls version. It's not like The Hangover 2 or anything, but it's like they accidentally kill a male stripper. That's the premise of the film. It's got loads of famous women, and you've probably seen the advert for it. But
yeah, it rings a bell.
Anyway, in the beginning of the film, they're all doing lines of coke like it's nothing.
Right.
Just in like a comedy film, just a mainstream comedy film. Yeah. And it's not, and it's never mentioned again in the film. It's just like that. Oh, that's just something they're in. Like it was completely not needed or whatever. And I'm not a prude or anything, but I'm just saying like that